What's up? What's up? What's up? I got some news for y'all people, man. See, filed a motion and affidavit in this court about this remote Zoom. All right. In the courts, okay, in Michigan, the Superior Court of Michigan and the Superior Court of Ohio and Iowa and California all ruled that a court case, is private. They all ruled that. And they also ruled that it's against the Constitution of privacy, and where you cannot swear witness in on TV, on Zoom. You can't do it. Under no circumstances, you can't do it. They already ruled that violates your 14th Amendment, your 6th Amendment, the works. These courts already ruled that. And Daniel Williams versus the United States Superior Court. And then you got other cases that I'm using right now. And then you got a case in Minnesota where they ruled that you cannot use Zoom on no criminal cases whatsoever. You cannot use Zoom on no cases whatsoever because court cases are private. They are not for the public, period. They're not for the public. They already ruled that from Michigan 341 US 133-75 SCT 623 1955. They ruled about posting cases and all of that stuff in newspapers. And in 2000, they ruled against Zoom completely because Zoom is against the law for any courthouse to use, period. They ruled that. So I filed a motion. I took it down to the courts, 8/15/2023, and I put corruption of the justice system, judges, prosecutor, and clerk of the courts. Corrupt. They all corrupt. All right. On my 6th Amendment guaranteed right to have a partial trial, impartial jury trial. My constitutional rights, 6th Amendment rights. I got the right to cross-examine, and that person has to be on the witness stand in court, period. There's no state of emergency while these judges can't have their asses in court. That's what they get paid for. Have their asses in court. But you like this one judge, she was so drunk doing a hearing, she kept falling off her seat, glasses all crooked, hair all messed up. The court system is violating everybody's constitutional rights, period, by this Zoom shit. Zoom just did a thing where the courts don't have no say-so. If the courts sign up for Zoom, they lost all rights to everything. In other words, they can rewrite, take out, put in, all of that stuff Zoom can do. That's for everybody that uses Zoom. They got no say-so because Zoom is not in the United States. It's in another country. So they got no say-so on another country, period. All right? So I filed my motion about this hearing. And this is the funny thing that caught my eye. A settlement confirmation. The fuck is a settlement confirmation? I've never heard of that before. They changed the words and everything else. No, motherfucker, we going to get this thrown out. First of all, states in the Constitution. You got to get me in front of a judge. Then a certain amount of, immediately it says, immediately. That's what the Constitution says. You have to get me in front of a magistrate or a judge immediately, not when you want to. I was taken by 2 different law agencies All right? 2 different law agencies at 10 a.m. in the morning. One law, one, which they didn't have the authority or the Constitution. They didn't even have the jurisdiction to arrest me. And the other agency, which was the Sheriff's Department, had no jurisdiction to arrest me. All right? They had all day on 2/6, all day to get me in front of a magistrate. They violated my constitutional rights there. It says immediately, the hell with what the state constitutional right says. Go by what the federal constitutional right says. I was in custody immediately. Now, I also found this case about Minnesota as I was looking. And it states here, under the duty of the officer, any officer, law enforcement, arrests someone with a warrant. First, they have to have the warrant in their possession. That's number 1. Have to have the warrant in their possession. They have to read you the warrant of the charges. That was never read to me. No officer read me no warrant, no nothing. They have to read the warrant of the charges. Then they got to have jurisdiction to arrest you. This is out of Minnesota. This case is out of Minnesota. Duty of an officer. Okay? And this is the funny thing. You violated my due process of law. That's what you did. You violated my due process of law. So I was telling this attorney, I'm like, well, wait a minute, man. I'm reading the case now from Minnesota. And also cases from Kansas City, California. And it says right here in the state versus PHINNEY 42 ME 384-1856. And then it's another one in the case. I'm reading all of these cases, man. Invalid and unlawful warrant. Invalid and unlawful warrant. It says here, whoever makes the arrest, which is the officer, has to have the warrant in their possession. Has to read the warrant to the defendant and immediately take him in front of a magistrate or judge. Immediately. That's also in the Constitution and the common law. They have to immediately, not when they're ready, not when they get ready. No, you violated my constitutional rights. I got the right to sue these judges. Now I got the right to sue the officers. Here's the funny thing. The courts has also ruled that if a warrant for an arrest of a fugitive was valid, then the complaint is void because the officer has to read the arrest warrant to the defendant. And the officer has to show he has justification to arrest the individual. He has to show that he has jurisdiction to arrest the individual. Right there. In all these cases. Right there. All these cases. And I was telling this attorney, I'm like, dude, you fired. You don't tell me shit that I see in their own law books. You don't tell me nothing. Well, they don't got to read you the warrant. They don't got to take you. The state of Minnesota says they got 46 hours. I don't give a fuck what the state of Minnesota constitutional right says. This is what the land of the law says. This is what the Minnesota Courts of Appeal ruled about. Okay? Minnesota Court of Appeals already ruled on this. All right? So I don't give a damn about what they say. It says right here, Superior Court in Minnesota State, Minnesota Superior Court, Minnesota Superior Court, Minnesota Superior Court ruled you have to immediately take the defendant in front of a magistrate or a judge immediately. Once you arrest an individual on a warrant, 4 things got to happen. Probable cause don't mean nothing. 4 things got to happen because they'll always say they have probable cause when they didn't. 4 things got to happen. The officer must have in his possession the warrant of the arrest. The warrant cannot be rubber stamped, and it cannot be a copy of a warrant. Right there, Minnesota. In Minnesota, the state Superior Court ruled it cannot be rubber stamped. The officer has to read you the warrant. The officer has to prove he has jurisdiction. You have to immediately means now, not 24 hours, not 72 hours, not 46 hours. Immediately means now. You have to be immediately taken in front of a judge or a magistrate or a judge. If not, then the individual that issued out the warrant and the officer that issued out the warrant is liable to be sued for false imprisonment. For false imprisonment. Then it goes even further. No clerk of the municipal courts or deputies or prosecutor has the authority to issue a warrant. Unconstitutional. Unconstitutional. Right there. Unconstitutional. Big letters. Unconstitutional. Big letters. Unconstitutional. Unconstitutional. The clerks can't even issue a warrant. They'll talk about a warrant. Unconstitutional. Okay? And this is the best part. The prosecutor cannot know the individuals whatsoever. Now, let me see. This prosecutor goes to lunch with them. I've seen this prosecutor talk to this judge several times when I was going through my divorce. Matter of fact, that prosecutor had criminal cases in front of her and in front of the other judge. There's only 2 judges in that court, you know, and they know each other. Everybody in that courthouse know each other. They're all friends, family members, etc., etc. So that's not going to give me a fair trial. I had problems with the judge. The judge knew that I was going to sue her. That was in my affidavit and in my complaint to have her removed. That was in that right there in the complaint that she did violate my constitutional rights, fair trial, ADA, the works. She allowed perjury, false documents into the divorce. Even did all of that, you know? So I had her removed. And then this guy never went in front of this judge to hear anything, which my motion is about to get filed on that. What that judge did got to be void. It will be void because that judge violated my 6th Amendment constitutional right, didn't allow me to be in court. The court clerk said he's not postponing nothing during a snowstorm because he came from a different county. Then you had no jurisdiction to even make a ruling. And that's what the law says. That's what the law says. They have to have jurisdiction. That's what the law says. That's what the law says, you know? So I'm not going to sit back and let these fools just, you know, charge anything on me. And it says here about, this is the funny thing about this here, okay? The prosecutor cannot go by his feelings, hearsay, or anything like that by doing a complaint against anybody or issuing a warrant. That's what he did, because they all know each other. They all know each other. They all know each other. It's against the law. Against the law. The Superior Court of Minnesota already ruled this. A prosecutor cannot go by he say, she say, or by that belief, that personal belief of feelings. Now let's get one thing clear here. Superior Court in Colorado just made a ruling on a guy. Now that guy crazy. That guy's really crazy. But the Superior Court in Colorado ruled on a terrorist threat, on a threat, right? Now, he made these threats. He was angry because of what happened to him. The works. He was upset in the works, right? So, four of the judges that ruled in his favor stated that that's the problem with a lot of these courts. They got to stop putting people through hell just to get a conviction when they know that there's no conviction there. You know, they got to stop letting people get locked up for threats when there's really no threat there. You got to have to commit it to do a threat. You have to have the means, the capability to carry out a threat. I don't have none of that. I was upset. I didn't get to court. Snowstorm out there. Judge refused to postpone. Which is a violation of my Sixth Amendment, 14th Amendment, constitutional rights. So the judgment that he made and signed is void. No ifs and no buts. It's void. You know, there was evidence that was filed in my case on my motion back in my motion was filed on 12/9/22. It was stamped. All right, it was stamped by the courts. And my affidavit and all of that was filed on this case at the same time. And the clerk of the court, I forgot her name, but her name is on my recording. And this was filed with them on 1/3. No, it shouldn't have been 1/3, because I don't know why this date here is 1/3. Which they committed perjury on filing this with the courts. Oh yeah, It's the funny thing. They got here 1/3/2022 that they filed this with the courts, the state of Minnesota, filed District Court of Minnesota. And this right here proved that they committed perjury on these right here. All right? Because when I asked for a subpoena, I couldn't get no subpoenas of her finance and other bank accounts that she had, right? And when my wife used to work with Bloomingdale's, she had a 401k. She worked for Babies R Us and Toys R Us, she had a 401k. When she worked for Babies R Us and Toys R Us, 401k. When she worked for AutoZone, she had a 401k. So this is the funny thing. It's a funny thing. Now, this goes back all the way to 8/22/2022 to 9/22/2022. That's how far this goes back. On here it says, check this out. This is the funny thing. On here, right here where it's highlighted, company car. She got it, a company car. Okay, company car. And right down here, 401k. 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 Now let's see what's wrong with their documents that they filed with the courts. Let's look at these documents that they filed with the courts. Okay? Now this goes back all the way to 12/6/2020 to 12/19/2020 to 12/24/2020. This goes back from 12/6/2020 to 12/19/2020 to 12/24/2020 on her paperwork. Then it goes updated all the way to 8/28/2022 to 9/10/2022, all the way up. Okay? And from January 2022 all the way to the whole year 2022. Okay? And right here, on this here, it says company car, current, $408.68 the company gives her. All right? $401k, company matches. Okay? $122.18. $2,626.26. All right? Wait a minute. They submitted documents here, which they changed a lot on the documents from AutoZone. Because I'm looking at what they sent to the courts, because I asked this shit to go to the courts. And I'm looking at both of them, and I asked for the whole, from the year 2020 when she started. No, she started from, let me see. Babies R Us and Toys R Us went out of business in November 2018. She started working with AutoZone 2018. 2019, she started working with AutoZone. 2018, 2019. So I asked all the way back then for her records. They all came. Whole pay stub and everything. She was a supervisor, then a district supervisor, salesperson, all of that. Now, I even attached to what they got on the internet about salespersons and managers. In 2018, she was making 70-something thousand a year. 2019, she was making 80-something to 90-something thousand a year. 2020, she was making 90-something thousand a year. Now, don't forget, the courts say bonuses don't count, but she was getting bonuses from $5,000 to $6,000 every quarter bonus, even when the pandemic was going on out there in Minnesota. Even when the COVID-19, she was still working and everything else. All the auto zones were open during the pandemic. So then in 2021, the salary went up to 100 and something thousand a year. But wait a minute. On this one here, it says her salary went up. But what they produce was totally fraud. It's a bill from Fairview Hospital. It was a time for $1,788.40. And their motion, in my affidavit that I filed with my affidavit, the collection agency that's coming after me for that bill. Everything was filed with my affidavit in motion. She didn't pay nothing. She didn't pay none of those bills when she was ordered to by the court order. All right? What should have happened by law was when that judge said to her, "Are you paying rent?" And she said with a smile on her face, "No." Then why you got on my documents, you submitted, you and your attorney submitted, but you're paying rent. And you haven't been paying rent since he put you out. Well, you got here, you paying the amount of rent of $1,200 when we was paying $1,200 when you didn't want to pay $1,200 on the mortgage payment that was being paid. Wow. And they didn't do nothing. They didn't get her for perjury. They didn't get him for conspiracy for perjury, committing perjury, soliciting perjury. They didn't get neither one of them. So how the fuck you gonna tell me? If I get to court, you tell me, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? I will never put my hand up to y'all people. Never. Never. That word right there should be removed out of the courts. Because if you can't file perjury charges on her, you can't file perjury charges on nobody else. When you know that these people committed perjury, the conspiracy to commit perjury, they committed perjury on record. On record. So then they put attached here with no proof, a copy of the same bill that I got. No proof that it was paid. And the courts accepted. The clerk court, I filed a complaint against the clerk court, put a rule in there too. Once documents are handed to you, they got to be stamped in that courtroom and dated. She tell me, well, it's up to the judge. It ain't up to no fucking judge. It ain't up to no fucking judge to give you permission to sue anybody. We have that constitutional right under the constitutional right. We got the right to file a lawsuit. We have that constitutional right to file a lawsuit. So let's get back there to this here. So I'm reading up on this case. And it says here, the complaint of or charge or which a warrant is issued must set forth the facts containing the offense. And here come another word that always gets me. The state cannot be a victim. The state cannot claim victim. A victim has to fill out an affidavit. A victim has to fill out a complaint. A victim, not the state. A victim is a habeas corpus. A victim is a live person. That's from the Minnesota Superior Court. So when they say Minnesota, state of Minnesota versus me, no, you can't verse me because I didn't do no crime against Minnesota. Minnesota is a state, an object. And plus, Minnesota is a sovereign state. Look it up. Minnesota is a sovereign state. We, the people, you have to go by the law of the land. You just got to go by the law of the land. So we go to trial. Everything going to be brought out. From conspiracy, retaliation. I filed a complaint against the judges. Yeah. That judge did not give me the opportunity to appear in court, which violated my constitutional rights. It states it. All he had to do was postpone the court because it was a fucking snowstorm. Yes, I'm going to be upset. Yes, the Colorado Superior Court already ruled in this guy's favor. You cannot hold. People got to stop thinking that somebody threatened somebody. You got to look at the reason why. You got to look at the understanding what happened. What happened? What happened was the person upset. What brings that person to that point to do that? Yes, I was upset. I was highly upset because you violated my constitutional rights. You had no right to deny me court. I have the constitutional right under the Sixth Amendment to be in court and face my accusers. I have that constitutional right. I have that constitutional right to be in court. And for the last time, I filed a divorce. I got tired of her lying, her abuse. I got tired of her drinking again. I got tired of it all. I got tired of her giving money to this guy, and I got tired of it all. I got tired of it. See, that's the problem. I am a man. I'm not a guy. I'm a man. See, when she got sick, and what that doctor told me, I could have left her then. But I didn't. And the reason why I didn't is because I made a vow to her in front of God when we got married. Through sickness, through health, to death do you part. I made a vow to God. I treated her the way she was supposed to be treated, like a queen. But when women get busted cheating and with their lies build up, they can always put us good men down. They always put us good men down. They will never say the good things that I did for this person. A woman would never say the good things that her husband has done for them. No woman will. Because we bust them cheating. They run to the state goes, these courthouses, let them file bogus restraining orders, bogus charges, and we go through this bullshit where you destroyed our lives, our reputation, but we got a right. We got a right to clear our names. We have that fucking right to clear our names. We have that right. So they say threat. Threat of who? Because in my report, in my complaint, I told her in my complaint that I'm going to sue you for violation of my constitutional rights. That's not a threat. To fight them in court, that's not a threat. To sue them, that's not a threat. So we go to trial. We'll go to trial. I got the right to sue the prosecutor for false arrest, attempted murder on my life. I have that constitutional rights. You know damn well blacks and Mexicans are getting killed by these punk ass sheriffs and deputies. You know this shit. You know? So yeah, I got the constitutional right to sue his ass. And they can't use the excuse ignorance of the law because now they have no excuse. You know? They jumped to the gun to try to file charges on me so I can't proceed with my lawsuit. No, my lawsuit's going to still be there. I can still proceed with my lawsuit against them. Conspiracy, hate crime, and that's what's also in my lawsuit now. And I found out a lot about this DA. Oh my God. Let me see. He drinks like a motherfucker. Let me see. He was picked on when he was in school. I know all the stuff about this guy. I know everything about him. And you know what's so ironic? How the hell are you going to judge me when you do the same thing? That's the funny thing. How can somebody judge somebody when they out there beating on their wives beating on their kids or their husbands, drinking, using drugs? I don't do none of that. Never did, never will. You know why? Because I'm a man. I'm a man. I'm a man. I was upset. I was very upset. Snuck in snow. Car got broke down. I was very upset. The whole state of Minnesota was shut down. Every court in Minnesota was shut down. Every court in the state of Minnesota was shut down. But this guy didn't want to give a hearing. He didn't want to postpone nothing. No. And this other judge, he's out of his jurisdiction. Yeah, he's straight out of his jurisdiction. Oh, I got to find this here where, this is what the thing says here though. Okay? This is what it says. When you make a warrant for someone's arrest, you do deprive a citizen of his liberty and property. A rubber stamp warrant is invalid on its face. A rubber stamp is invalid on its face. Period. I told this public defender straight out, where it states that the warrant must be in the possession of the officer making the arrest, and it has to be the original warrant. It says right here, it says, who arrests up on it, a person cannot be lawfully arrested by a sheriff's actions under a copy of a court order or warrant. It's out of Minnesota. It's a case out of Minnesota in a Superior Court. In the warrant form requires a copy. Such copy is not void. It's not valid. Such copy is not valid. Such copy is not valid. It's not valid. Anytime an officer or a sheriff arrests someone with a warrant, they have to read the warrant, have jurisdiction to arrest, immediately, not no 26 hours, not the next day, not 48 hours, none of that. They have to immediately take them in front of a magistrate or judge to answer to the charges. They have to immediately. And they can't use no bullshit about times and nothing, because judges and magistrates are open 24/7. No ifs and no buts. They there 24/7. So they can't use that bullshit no more. See, the person making the arrest under invalid warrant, that officer is in violation of their constitutional rights of false imprisonment, and by law, they have to be compensated for the false arrest and false imprisonment by common law. Again, they have to have jurisdiction. They have to have the original warrant. They have to read you the warrant. They have to take you immediately. This is from the superior courts. They have to immediately take you in front of a judge or magistrate. Immediately. They had all day. Court's supposed to stop. I don't give a damn about what they say. The courts by law is supposed to stop in every state at 5 p.m. They have from 10 a.m. that morning to get me in front of a judge. They turned around, they had me into 2 custodies. One with the police department Police department handed me over to the sheriff's department. Sheriff's department drove me from one county to another county. That's kidnap. It's kidnap. That's kidnap. Straight kidnap. Did they have probable cause for the warrant? No. This person kept calling every fucking law enforcement to have me arrested. She has to be in court because she has to have her ass in court because I got the right to question her. I got the right to bring up everything that she said in her report to the police, where she claimed she hasn't seen my ex-wife since 2012, 2013. That bitch committed perjury. And if that judge do not lock her ass up right then and there, that judge needs to go to jail. Because that'll be a second time a judge allowed perjury in their courts in Minnesota. And because they're a woman, they commit perjury. Women in Minnesota could commit perjury, falsified evidence, falsified documents to the courts. That's what they can do in Minnesota. Now, this is California. That bitch and her attorney be in jail right now. Them judges don't play that shit. Only in the state of Minnesota, women get away with this perjury shit and their attorneys falsify documents and the attorneys committing perjury. Only in the state of Minnesota. So I'm going after the attorney's firm because they took the oath of office. I'm going after them. You see, because he writes a motion. When I saw his motion that he wrote, which is void motion, which don't carry no fucking weight, because I wasn't in court to hear no motion or nothing. You know, that right there opens the door right there for a big ass lawsuit. You know, and he submitted fraud documents again to the court because her pay stub says something totally different what they sent us. What they sent us, her pay stubs says something totally different with the copy of the original court order for the pay stubs. They say something totally different. How much she was making, how much is her 401k, how long her 401k, it says something totally different than what he's been submitting to the courts. So I'm going after the attorneys now. Yeah. Fuck with the wrong person, man. I'm going to fight your asses in court. What the constitutional right says. And that's another thing. This idiot, he files on me too. Disorderly conduct. So I'm reading up the laws about disorderly conduct. I don't drink. I don't mess with drugs. I wasn't in public. I'm on the fucking internet. There's no such thing as disorderly conduct in the internet. What you say on the internet. No such law whatsoever. That right there is retaliation and hate. And hate. I'm filing a RICO Act charges against the deputy that lied on this report, corruption against the judges, and the RICO Act against the DA's office, against this DA. Yeah. He put false charges. There's no charge in the United States, in any state of the United States of America, that says disorderly conduct on the internet. No law whatsoever. He did that behind hate, retaliation, and discrimination. That's what he did that charge for. Now I'm going to read something else to y'all about what they know they're not supposed to do. They know this. Okay? They know this. And this was also won in the Superior Court in New Jersey. This case was won and heard and was granted. All right? And it states here that, listen carefully, it states here that it is against the Constitution and privacy to post any inmate's pictures on the internet. The sheriff's department in New Jersey got sued for that. It was a class action lawsuit, and they had to pay each inmate $126,000 to each inmate. Buck County. All sheriff's department knows this. They know that you're not supposed to no pictures on the internet of any individual you arrest. None. Superior courts ruled that it's in violation of their privacy, etc., etc. And you cannot take, this is a good one, you cannot take their pictures and fingerprints because they are not convicted of a crime. You cannot take pictures and fingerprints of the individuals because they are not convicted of a crime. That was ruled. That was ruled in all courts in the United States. Only time that you can, if you have a picture on file, and if that person did not appear to when that individual was supposed to appear, that is the only option you have, is to issue a warrant for his arrest and post his picture on the news. The news. But it cannot be for misdemeanor offenses. It has to be for felony offenses, all federal and felony offenses. No misdemeanors. All sheriff's departments know the law. They cannot be ignorant of the law and the rulings in New Jersey, Colorado, Chicago, Washington, D.C., California. They all follow the same rulings, what superior courts rule in all laws. You cannot fingerprint and picture no one until they are committed of a crime. This motherfucker hates. Now he's a fat white guy. This motherfucker hates blacks so much, or others, he put in his warrant fingerprints and pictures. First of all, he violated my constitutional rights on a fraud warrant. He wrote a fraud affidavit warrant. A fraud warrant, he did. Because you're supposed to send an affidavit first. It even says that under the Constitution and the common law, even if it's a felony. The only thing that you cannot send a summary is when the FBI. The FBI, they got you. You know, the FBI just coming to get you. You know, so you could have sent a summary like it said you're supposed to do. That's a common law. And that's what it says in the constitutional rights. A summary. But you didn't send a summary. You immediately put a warrant out for my arrest, didn't investigate nothing, didn't figure out why I was so upset. No. Yeah, this is a hate crime that you put up on me. What you did is called a hate crime. What you did is a RICO act. What you did is discrimination against disabled. That's what you did. And I'm going to take you down in a lawsuit, which I got the constitutional right. See, all of them lose immunity. They have no immunity when they know the law. When they know that they violated someone's constitutional right under federal laws, they lose all immunity. Prosecutors, judges, deputies, police, they all lose all immunity. And you see, you go after their bond because each and one of them have to be bonded by the state they work in. That's their rules. The Superior Court already ruled so many cases. All codes, rules, and regulations are for government official employees. They work for the state. They are government official employees. The laws that they have are no laws. Those are not real laws. You know, those are not real laws, man. Y'all people need to read your constitution right. Fuck the state constitution. State constitution don't mean a damn thing. What counts is your original federal constitution, 1776, 1778, 1781, 1791, 1792, 1795. Those constitutions right there for the Bill of Rights is what counts. Their constitution is unconstitutional. The judge that's helping me with all of this stuff here and filing the lawsuits from me and stuff against the public defender's office, the DA's office, and all of them. See, the DA, the public defender, filed a motion to have him removed. Public defenders are not for us. They work for the state. Their loyalty is to the state that they work for. Unless you can find a real public defender that cares about your constitutional rights. And there's not that many. Public defenders work for the state. Their obligation is to the state. The obligation is to two things: get a plea deal or get your probation. And the only two things that they're obligated to do. They're not obligated to fight a case for you. They're not obligated to defend you. No public defender. They're not obligated to do that. They're just like the United States Superior Court ruled. Police officers and all of them are not obligated to protect you. Their job is to protect a business, the corporation. United States Superior Court already ruled that. No police officer, no deputy, no sheriff is there to protect you. They're there to protect the corporation. That's it. They already ruled that. But when this idiot tells me that there was no such law, and then there's all kinds of cases that you can go under about an arrest warrant from Minnesota all the way down to Kansas City, California, of the same thing about arrest warrant. And it states that the arrest warrant has to be read to you by the arresting officer. And the warrant, the original, not a stamp, signature, not a copy, the original warrant has to be in their possession. Has to be in their possession. No, they violated my constitutional rights. I ain't taking it no more, man. I don't, you know what's so funny is that when I cursed them out and everything on the internet, I felt kind of bad. I even made an apology video, and I told him, that's not me. I was totally upset because of what happened in court. This judge denied me my hearing to be in court. So I filed my lawsuit against them. And I filed an appeal. The appeal said, no, violate your 14th Amendment, your 6th Amendment, it works. Filed a motion on the judgment where that judgment is void. That judgment is completely void. With that, filed a lawsuit to get these attorneys licensed from them, which they don't need a license because so many courts ruled that attorneys don't need a license in the United States. Mexico ruled that, and also ruled that there's no such thing attorneys, Yeah, read your Constitution, man. That's all I'm gonna tell you all. Even the women, read, the good women, read your Constitution. Read your Constitution. Oh, excuse me. Read your Constitution. That's what counts. The original Constitution, not the state Constitution. State Constitution is void and unconstitutional when it violates the original Constitution. The original Constitution, And the Constitution states that immediately you have to be, even in this case from Minnesota, it says here, they have to immediately take you in front of a magistrate or a judge. Immediately, not 46 hours, not 26 hours, not 10 hours. It says immediately. And on 2/6, they had all the time in the world to get me in front of a judge in both counties. In both counties, as I went from one county to another county. I went to one county to another county. What kind of shit is that? No, you got to get, and I've been telling you, got to get me in front of a judge. No. Okay, I ain't saying no more. Where's the warrant? You got to read me the warrant. No. Okay, I ain't saying no more. I ain't saying no more. If the warrant is not read to the defendant, and if the defendant is not taken immediately in front of a magistrate, this is a violation of his constitutional rights, and whatever officer made the arrest is liable for false imprisonment. False imprisonment. False arrest. The warrant is void. Charges are dismissed. Kansas City. Unlawful warrants. When a warrant becomes unlawful is when the arresting officer refuses or denies to read the warrant to the defendant and refuses to prove that they have jurisdiction to arrest the individual. Jurisdiction to arrest the individual. Is that Kansas City? Is that a Superior Court, Kansas City? A Superior Court. And they have to immediately be taken in front of a magistrate. The warrant is unlawful and fail to meet such criteria. The defendant has to be immediately released and all charges dismissed. All charges dismissed. Can't even be refiled. All charges dismissed because you violated his constitutional rights, false imprisonment, false allegations. It's out of Kansas City. Common law requires that an arrest made on a warrant be issued only after an informed common law requires that an arrest made on a warrant be issued only after and being arrested. In some cases, it was stated that when the officer is known, he does not need to show the warrant, but that's not the case. The Superior Court ruled in Chicago, even if the defendant knows the officer, the warrant must be read to the defendant. The officer has to show he has jurisdiction. The defendant must be brought immediately in front of a magistrate or a judge. Wow, that word keeps coming up. Immediately. That's in the common law. The law of the land. That's in the common law, the law of the land. That's in the original Constitution. Immediately. Not 26 hours, not 46 hours. Immediately. See, they put that shit in their Constitution to try to justify your false imprisonment. People start fighting these fuckers, they cannot get away with it no more. And that's the problem. And then it got here. This is the funny thing. This is what cracks me up right now, man. This is what cracks me up right now. Before a warrant is issued, or an affidavit be signed, the charges or charges that's being brought up has to be investigated. Has to be investigated. Nobody never spoke to me. Matter of fact, I called that guy twice, left a message with the lady that picked up the phone. Yeah, this is Mr. Malillo. Understand you looking for me for what? Well, I can't tell you. You got to tell me. That's the law. This officer left me a message. Well, you could give this message to the officer, the deputy. Call me back. Let me know when you want to meet up, and I'll bring my attorney. Never once. Never once did they ever call me back. Never once. Never once. Never once did they ever call me back. Never once. So they already know that I filed a complaint against the judge, and this was retaliation because I had the judge removed, and I think she only been removed off of one case, or maybe mine's is number 2. But it looks bad when you remove a judge off a case. That does look bad for them. And complaints look bad for judges too. So my next step is the hell with a thing. The report and everything was filed with the federal investigation of hate crime. That was filed, against the hate crime against me, behind the judge, behind both judges, and behind the prosecutor, hate crime. So they being investigated, which is cool, because they kept saying, wait a minute. You say on the video you're going to fight for your rights and your Constitution, because that's what they violated. And this guy says that's a threat. Because you say you're going after them, I'm coming after you by what the law says I can do and my Constitution right. That is not no threat. We investigated you already, Mr. Melillo. When such and such called our office and Homeland Security saying you a terrorist and all of this. And you know this person, but this person keeps telling these people they haven't seen you or your wife since 2012 or 2013. But yet, under our investigation, your wife moved in with this person on 5/7/2020 at exactly 10:16 p.m. She moved everything out of your house into her trailer park with her. So yes. Now her ex-husband, we got him on record because he didn't want your daughter around your ex-wife. Yes. Then he texts you and tells you all text messages are evidence for courts. But yet he's on recording, calling your house, which we listen to all your recordings. You got recordings back to since you've been out there, on your phone service. It's been out there. All calls are being recorded. Yes. Then we got evidence where you kept telling the deputies in Faribault that they violated the restraining order that you put on her because she's having people calling you and stuff. We traced the number. We spoke to these individuals, and everything came from your ex-wife. Yes. Then your ex-wife is sending you pictures of her. Yes. Everything is coming from her phone number, her IPS address. Everything is coming from them. Then they committed fraud under your name. They hacked into the Social Security Administration office. Yes. Your report is on our desk for that there, and we're still going through that right now. Thank you. I hope Minnesota got that kind of money you suing them for. Me too, because I don't want no IOUs. I don't want no IOUs. Don't want no IOUs. I got every right by the constitutional right to file my lawsuit. I got every right to file my lawsuit without no charges or nothing whatsoever. To file my lawsuit, I got the right to have them mailed out to them. I can mail them out to them because I'm by myself. I have no family, no friends. I got the right to send that mail out to them. Certified mail. You're being sued. That's the law. I got that constitutional right. You sure enough do, Mr. Melillo. You sure enough do. Good luck to you, Mr. Melillo, but we're still investigating the fraud with the Social Security office that your wife did do and her friends did do. We've been tracking them for a while, but yes. And the judges, when the judges know that you're telling them that they have committed perjury and she does nothing, then she is involved with the perjury too. Yes. No ifs and no buts. Yes. The judge is involved because retaliation is the worst thing a judge can do, and this is what we see. The judge retaliated against you because you filed a complaint on her. Yes. You put in your complaint that she violated ADA Act, she violated your constitutional rights, and you will sue her. That's in your complaint. Yes. We don't see the threat. No. Nobody sees a threat but these white people in that crooked-ass courthouses, which, by the way, none of them should be working in there because none of them has an oath of office on file with the State Department, the Secretary of State of Minnesota. None of them has an oath of office on file with the Secretary of State of Minnesota. None of them do. None of them do. I wouldn't give a damn if it's your daddy, your mama, your sister, your brother. Before you can work in any courthouse in the United States, you have to take an oath of office. And that oath of office has to also be a bond. And that bond has to be with the Secretary of State or the Treasury of the state. On file. Period. Every courthouse in the United States. If they don't got an oath of office, they got to be locked up. And everything that they signed is void. Everything they did is void. I found the law, and I tried to tell this attorney, and he tried to tell me something totally different. I'll say it again to you people. Here it is. This is a court case out of another one. I found two more. Insufficient to support a warrant of an arrest. The Superior Court of Kansas said that a warrant cannot be issued, which is valid which is written on the county attorney's hearsay and belief. That's in Kansas City. If a warrant in the first installment must issue upon hearsay or belief, then all the grounds of the common law and the Bill of Rights to protect the liberty and the property of the citizens against abuse of power are swept away. So right there in another case of Kansas City versus the United States Superior Court, and they ruled that an officer, whoever arrests you, has to read you that warrant, and it cannot be a copy. Another case. This is the funny thing. This one here is out of Wisconsin. This one here is out of Wisconsin. Wisconsin says the same thing. Wisconsin Superior Court ruled Jones versus State of Wisconsin. Superior Court held that a warrant is not justifiable to attend to arrest the defendant under a warrant, which was in the sheriff. Oh, no, wait a minute. I misspoke. The Superior Court held that to justify a warrant, an attempt to arrest the defendant under a warrant, which was in the hands of the deputies, the court state that it was the duty of the officer who attempt to make the arrest to extradite the warrant if he had one. The officer making the arrest must have in possession the warrant to make the arrest. Must have in his possession, not a copy, not a Xerox copy, not a text copy. They have to have the original warrant in their possession to make an arrest, or otherwise it is an unlawful arrest and false imprisonment, and whichever officer makes the arrest is liable for false imprisonment and false arrest. They are liable. in damages. A prosecutor cannot issue an arrest warrant by hearsay, by his beliefs, or because they are relatives or friends with the complainants. Because now that falls into the category of what word and what law? Whoa, conspiracy. Ooh. This is Jones versus the state of Wisconsin, a place called Wisconsin. The prosecutor cannot go by hearsay or because he knows the individuals, because then it falls under a different category of conspiracy against the defendant. Oh, that's what they're doing. That's why this shit is going to federal court. Yes, this shit is going to federal court. I'm suing the clerks, the clerk supervisor. They know the law. Every time I had to file something, they tell me I had to wait for the judge to approve it. I don't need no judge to approve a fucking thing. I got that constitutional right to sue. I got the constitutional right to fight your crooked asses in court. I got the constitutional right to file in my lawsuit the RICO Act because you're a criminal organization. I got that right. I got that constitutional right to hit y'all with the RICO Act because y'all are a criminalized organization. Y'all blackmail, falsified documents, kidnap, false imprisonment. That all falls under the RICO Act. Y'all are criminals. That's what y'all are, criminals. I only know maybe one good judge in my whole lifetime. And that was a beautiful judge I ever met in my life because that judge saw the bullshit of what lies women tell on guys, you know? And that was amazing. That judge was hearing a case of a buddy of mine's, and that judge was an amazing judge. You know, that judge was one hell of a judge. That judge showed respect to the law. That judge showed respect to the constitutional rights. Because I'll never forget what that judge said in the courtroom. I don't give a damn about, and he said this on record, I don't give a damn about the DA's office, none of you. Let's get that clear right now. What I want to see is evidence. I don't want to hear no hearsay, no she say, no he say, she say. I want to see 100% evidence. That's what I want to see. Evidence. Not because this person said this person said that. I want to see 100% evidence in my courtroom. Y'all know what kind of judge I am. I don't give a damn. I go by what the constitutional right says because that man right there has every right for his constitutional rights to be protected, whether he's a prisoner or not. Man, that judge, we was in that courtroom, man, waiting for him to see what the judge was going to do, man. And when that DA said, well, all I got is statements, the judge said, what did I just tell you? That judge said, what did I just tell you? Did I not just tell you I want to see evidence? Statements, anybody can make a statement. Was the man upset? Was she getting back at him? Did she get caught cheating? I mean, the judge was throwing all kinds of shit out there. And he walked in on him. He walked in on her in his house. She got this guy in his bed. Walked in on her. And he was a bus driver for Los Angeles bus city. Walked in on her. Walked in on her. That judge said, I'm not taking this. This case is dismissed. Told the prosecutor, you cannot refile nothing on this man. He got the right to throw her ass out. He got the right to sue her and sue you. That was the only honest judge I ever met in my life. Because when my buddy got locked up for that bullshit out there in Cali, he was the only honest judge that I could tilt my hat to What that man said on record blew everybody's mind in that courtroom. Blew everybody's mind in that courtroom. Because I think that's what was going on at that time in California. Women getting busted by their husbands or girlfriends, getting busted by their boyfriends, cheating and stuff, and they throw them out and they run straight to the courts. They know that, see, all women know the procedures. All women know the procedures. That's why in California, they passed a law in 2019. It was 2019, they passed a law in California. You're just not going to put a restraining order out on somebody. You got to bring 100% evidence now to the courts. Domestic violence, you want to destroy this person's life for a charge of domestic violence when he never domestic violence against you in all of those years. But because he bust you cheating, threw your ass out, you want to say domestic violence now. No, we're not having that in this courtroom. No domestic violence charges. Courts out there, some of them judges get tired of these fucking prosecutors filing these false domestic violence. They don't know the damage that happens when a guy gets filed domestic violence charges. You can't fucking go nowhere with that on you. Nowhere. You can't get a job. You can't get nothing with domestic violence on you. You got to sue the courts to have that removed off your records and destroyed. That's what you got to do. You know, you can't travel over to another country. Some countries don't allow you. Like we was going to go to buddy of mine came by. Hey, man, you want to go to Canada with me? We're going fishing out there, man. I said, sure. Man, let me tell you, man. We got to the borderline, man, to Canada, dude. Shh. Guy comes up to me and says, man, we need to speak to you on the side, sir. I said, yes, sir. We can't allow you in Canada. Why? You know, why? Well, you have a record of domestic violence. No, I don't. Hey, look, whoa. All of this was thrown out of court on the interest of justice. You know, they knew that she lied. And I had to explain all of this to the guys, man, over there at customs, man. You know, and he says, so I show him a letter. They kept that on their file, and they gave me this paper to file with Canada. You know, and I filed that. You know, because we were gonna go out fishing out there in Canada. His mom and dad moved out to Canada and stuff, and his dad is originally from Canada, but they got out of California. So what happened was, make a long story short, I had to file all of this paperwork and stuff, and I had to get a copy. I had to make a copy of this charge was dismissed on the interest of justice. So they interviewed me, and they did their investigation. They said, you know what, Mr. Melillo, you're right. This is why it was thrown out, because she lied on everything, and you got the video, showed the video. I said, yeah, I showed everything that my ex-wife lied, man. She didn't even know I had videos in the house, man. You know, and you know, so anyway, that's what happened. But when you get filed that on you, you got to go to the courts, sue the courts to get it removed. File your motion to have that removed. It was dismissed. It got to be, the records and everything got to be dismissed. Period. You know, period. The records and the fingerprints and all of that has to be dismissed, period. You know, and everybody keeps saying, you know, like they talk about this guy, Trump. I told people from the beginning, man, he's nothing but an ass. His dad was an ass, you know. He ain't nothing but an asshole. That's all he is an asshole, Trump, you know. And every law that, like Nixon, when Nixon passed the laws and he was impeached, every law that he put in the books was removed. Every law that Nixon put, from tax laws and all of that, was wiped clean, was removed off the books. Same thing with this idiot. All of those laws that those people passed on the taxes against the poor and all of that should be removed off the books. Those laws should not be even taken into effect. Them laws should be removed off the books. So now you see the cowardness of the Republicans and Democrats. They don't give a fuck. They care about one thing, your votes. Like with the fight with TikTok. TikTok never violated nobody's privacy or anything. All of that shit came from Facebook. Facebook paid every one of those congressmen money. Every one of those congressmen, from Democrats to Republicans, every one of those congressmen and city council Facebook paid them kickbacks. But y'all people don't understand it. Y'all people are so stupid. That's why I always say, guy asked me, why you always say, hey, stupid America? Because people are stupid in America. The people in America are stupid. You got the racist bastards out there that think whites are better than everybody, which they're not, because they were never here first. They used to be slaves, whites, okay? And they go by all of this bullshit that was put in their heads behind these stupid, crooked, terrorist, treasonous Republicans, which every one of them should be, every Republican. What it says in the laws of the Constitution, anybody that commits treason against the United States have to be put out and taken out in the street in public and executed. Every Republican and any Democrats that helped what happened January 20th, every one of them are supposed to be sitting in federal prison, waiting to be taken out to public, getting hung or shot in the head. Every one of them supposed to be executed. Every one of them. Every one of them supposed to be executed. Every one of them. Democrats, if they was involved, the Democrats, the Republicans, every Republican should be executed. Every city councilman should be executed that was involved in that there. They're supposed to be executed. If you're not for the Constitution rights, which you took the oath of office, any government employee from city council members, all of them took an oath of office. If you are not for people, if you are not for the constitutional rights, you don't need to have your ass in office. You don't need to be in office. You don't need to be in office. Stop playing with these motherfuckers. We got the right to sue anyone that works for Congress. Start suing. Start filing your lawsuits against these city council members, discrimination, violation of the constitutional right, violation of the color law. That's a big one that I got in there too. Violation of color law. You got to hear my lawsuit. Yeah, they do. Violation of color law. File against these fuckers, man. File against them. Have them removed from city council member and all of that stuff, man. Have them removed. You know, that's all you got to do. Have them removed, man. You know, have them removed. Start suing them. Start suing them. You know, start holding every one of them accountable. Go after their bonds. Go after their bonds. That's what you do. Peace out, man. Oh, wait a minute.